Hello, 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 and how is everybody out there in collective world? I am Danny Morales, and I am here with episode 19 of the Collective Spotlight. Got some awesome guests, continuing the double feature trend, but we're going to start off hot right off the gate. Before I introduce him, I want to tell you guys about the book. The book is Kaiju Score. The writer is James Patrick, and he is kind enough to join us today. How are you doing, James?
I'm doing great. Thanks a lot for having me on the show.
Thank you for giving us the time, man. I'm sure you're busy because if our viewers don't know, Kaiju Score had already been optioned by Sony, if I'm not mistaken. Is that public knowledge?
Yeah. But I think I can't remember when it happened. Maybe late August. Aftershock had put out a preview of the book. It comes out well, tomorrow.
Yep.
They had thrown out a preview on Hollywood Reporter, and it got a lot of interest from the studios, from what I understand. And then, in a unique circumstance, we had a lot of the book finished because the artist and I had been working on it on and off for a while. And in an unusual circumstance, when I sent it to Aftershock, they read the whole first issue, and they loved it. And so we had a lot in the can, and so that went to the studio as much as was done at that time. And that really, I think, from what I understand, that really helped things. And yeah, we got a really nice movie deal out of it, a really nice one. So everybody was excited.
That's awesome. What does it mean to you to be able to get a movie deal before your book even gets its first issue on the stands? I mean, that's got to be great. It definitely helped publicize the book itself. I feel like it definitely helped order numbers, but how did it feel for you personally as a creator?
It was cool. I mean, I'm downplaying it. I was like super excited at the time, and I'm still excited. I've had some success, in 15 years I've been doing this. So it was validation. It was more success, and it was nice that we got that kind of interest on it. I've had a lot of critical hits, and I've done for work for DC, and I've had a very nice career at times. But yeah, the movie deal and the scope of the movie deal, it was some sort of validation that I can not only do good work, but I felt like I could sell books. And I'm saying but I mean everybody. The team, Aftershock and Rem.
Yep.
Rem is amazing. Rem is just absolutely amazing. The art he did for the book. But yeah, for me personally, it was validation that I could sell some books and not just do critically acclaimed books and not just do good work, but that something I had a real appeal. And yeah, Sony came in. Sony, Universal, a whole bunch were interested, and there was a competitive market, as they say.
Nice. Well, congratulations. I mean, that's
Thank you.
awesome. So let's talk about the book, Kaiju Score.
Uh,
Everybody loves, the kaiju movies, but tell us a little bit about the universe that you've built here.
it's the best way to put it, and everybody repeats this. The style of the book, and I'll get to like the universe, but the style of the book is like, what if a Quentin Tarantino movie took place in some corner of a Godzilla movie? And that's what I was going for with the book. It grew in scope as it went. The universe is basically, if you just imagine that kaijus are like hurricanes, like every once in a while, it's just going to happen. So the book touches upon things like kaiju watches and kaiju warnings. It's almost like the weather.
Okay.
And once you have that world building and you can establish that kind of, you can go in there and you can kind of play with that. And that's kind of the world it took place in. You have this world where there are kaijus roaming around. Some are aggressive, some are not. Most are not. They're kind of chill for the most part. They just kind of want to come ashore and then sunbathe and do their thing. But not all are like that. Some are territorial. And then you also were dipping into the heist world, like the circuit of safecrackers and stuff like that. And the two of them collide.
All right. I love what it is, and I'm loving the mixtures of these worlds because, like I said, a lot of people love kaiju books, and there aren't a lot out there, so it already is an untapped market. But you kind of add a little spice in there. I have to ask you, what, if any, kaiju related inspirations did you have? Were you a big Godzilla fan growing up, or where did the kaiju in this come about?
I mean, as a kid on Saturday afternoons, they'd show them on certain stations. They'd show the monster movies when I was a kid. And when there was a kaiju movie on, a Godzilla movie or a Gamera movie, I ate that stuff up. I used to love that. Those were my favorite ones. Like when the horror ones would come on, I was when I was young, like they would play a lot of of the Hammer, maybe the Hammer things, the Hammer horror movies like Dracula and stuff. I appreciate those now, but I always wanted like the big monster movies when I was a kid, and some of them are really bad. But when you're a kid, like it's there's one about like these twin monsters and it's terrible and I can't think the name of it. But it was like the greatest thing in the world when I was a kid. And I watched it later and I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. And the Godzilla movies aren't and the Gamera movies aren't. Those are classics and those are wonderful. So yeah, the kaiju element of it, that was kind of the second element I came up with for this book. I came up with a combination, but the kaiju element was like the second. Oh, it was it was the next thing. I wanted to make a crime book first.
Okay. So at its core, it's a crime book. But you kind of got to build it in this universe where the kaijus exist and they're kind of regular,
yeah,
on a regular basis a little bit.
What I found out was how thirsty people are for kaiju stories. Absolutely. I mean, I wrote a crime book. I'm a crime writer. Like I like to write crime a lot. So I wanted to make a crime book, but when it started being advertised, like people who were really coming out of the woodwork were like, "Hey, a kaiju book! Oh, a kaiju story!" Because there just aren't a lot of them in our, on this side of the ocean, so to speak. And there's a real thirst out there for it. There's only 2 Pacific Rim movies. There's Godzilla movies. It just doesn't feel like there's enough of that to satisfy people. That's what I noticed about doing. There's a lot of crime books out there.
Yeah.
It was the kaiju element that really people were excited about.
Well, yeah, especially because I don't think those kaiju books happen on a single issue basis. Godzilla typically gets published in like a graphic novel or a trade, and Pacific Rim is a movie. So in this, single issue floppy format, you're kind of one of the first to do it. Well, at least in this decade, because I feel like 2020 didn't really have any books like that. There is Giga, but Giga is more on the Transformer side of that. So I feel like there's really an untapped market. And talk to me a little bit about working with Aftershock. Aftershock has been knocking out hit independent books after hit independent books, and now it looks like they're about to have another one with you. How did that relationship come about with Aftershock?
I had worked with Mike Marks, who he's one of the shoot, I can't remember what his exact role is, but he's partner, main editor at Aftershock. Mike and I have a history. I worked on Batman, and I worked on an issue of Batman, and worked on some Harley Quinn. I worked on Green Arrow, and he was my editor on a couple of those books, and I got to know him there. And then I wrote Green Arrow. I think I messed that up, and then I wasn't at DC for much longer. And I don't had anything to do with Mike, by the way. I had another editor on that. But and then years went by, and I had this book, and I thought it was really good, and I just reconnected with him just based on that old relationship, and I'm glad I did because they are wonderful. Aftershock, Mike and Lee and Joe, and I'm going to miss some names, but everyone there so supportive. And the process was so easy. Everything was so smooth. And Christina, and it's kind of been it's been so smooth. I can't believe it. So
we hear nothing but good things from our Aftershock creators, and honestly, Aftershock I've been reading Aftershock for a few years now, but really in 2020, I feel like they found their stride, and they've had some really great books, and it seems like every month there's an Aftershock #1, almost the way that every month there was an Image #1 in 2018 that made people's ears perk. And right now it's Aftershock in the lead, I feel like.
Yeah, I really feel like they've come into their stride. We Live was just a huge hit for them. I think that's the title of it. I I can see it in my head. Yeah.
We Live is going to a third printing, which people that are familiar with Aftershock, very rarely does something even go to a second printing. So it's great for both the creators, great for the publication, great for us as a comic store, because that means we can keep getting issue ones. I mean, I'm sure you know, James, having an issue 1 on the shelf is vital, because if you have issue 2, 3, and 4 and somebody can't read issue 1, they're not going to jump onto your series.
Yeah, and from what I've seen about Lonely Receiver, like I haven't read Lonely Receiver, but that looks great. I've actually worked with Jen in the past, and she's wonderful.
Oh, awesome. Lonely Receiver's great.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Aftershock has really knocked it out of the park for the better portion of this year, and they've been doing it for a while. I just think now it's on people's radar.
Yeah, absolutely. They're just knocking it out of the park.
So talk to me, James, a little bit about what your plan is for the first story arc. Is it going to be self-contained to just one arc and done? Are you building a universe that you can do volumes in? How are you trying to approach this?
I didn't think about it ahead of time. I just had a story I wanted to tell. I just had a thing I wanted to do, so to speak. And we've been throwing around. If the book does well, I've approached them about it. I have some ideas, but I don't know if they're fully fleshed yet. And again, it's going to depend on how much the book is a success. So,
so is this story arc going to be 5 issues? Is that what we're looking at?
It's 4. There's a little extra story in it. It's 24 pages. So it is a little extra story. It's 4 issues, and it's 4. They typically do 5, so it makes sense why you would assume that. I don't know if they've ever done 4 before. But it goes back to what I said earlier. We had put the book together, a lot of it, and it was so far done that I feel like they didn't want to wreck that or change that, because it was kind of structured, so to speak, and it would have taken some rewriting and stuff. But we were so far into it. And they liked it so much that they just let us do our thing. So
the 4 issues was kind of like a you decision. You feel comfortable, like we're not going to get to issue 4 and be like, oh man, he really would have done well with an extra issue. Like, you feel comfortable with the story you were able to tell over the 4 issues.
Yeah, every issue feels like it has a lot of meat in it and not stretched out. I didn't want to, being that far in the process, if I had gone back and tried to add stuff, I feel like we would have thinned it out. Okay. So there's that.
So talk to me a little bit about working with your artist, Rem. I'm looking through the book, and I mean, his character designs and his facial expressions are really good. And then, there's some really fun panels. Like, I see where you're talking about how it's like weather, and there's like the Kaiju report and everything like that. But talk to me a little bit about working with Rem. It seems like you guys both had a little bit of fun with this book, because there's a lot of fun stuff in here.
Yeah. The thing with Rem was, when I had started this book, I saw it more as a Parker book, like the Westlake Stark character, Parker. Okay. And the book was a little more Brubaker-ish, is the best way to put it. Yeah. And then I saw Rem's art, and I'm like, man, his art's slick. Has a lot of pop, has a lot of vibe. So I went to him and I said, hey, I'm doing this book, and I love your style. And when he hopped on, I changed it, and I went back and I made it a little more Ocean's 11. Okay. So it kind of went from Brubaker Criminal, or if people are familiar with Parker, it went from there, and then it went to Ocean's 11, and that's the best way when he was brought on board. So it was a lot of fun, because he brought so much energy and style and slickness to the book. The book is just slick as hell. And that's him. And so I went back and I wrote to that. And so
and towards the end, he has like a really awesome, splash page that goes across both pages. And once people see it, I think they're going to get an idea of not just what you're talking about in terms of slickness, but just how it pops, I mean, you see, different things, boats, and it looks like something. I can see this scene in a movie. Like day after. So I mean, you're creative. Have you guys worked together before, or is this the first time you guys have worked together?
No, but this was a long process. We haven't worked together on a book before this, but we've been making. I thought of this idea, I don't know, 7 years ago or more. And he came on board years and years ago, and he did the standard 5 pages. The Image was interested, and they were like, we don't know until we see the whole thing. So we did the whole issue, and then they passed on it. And so that allowed it, but it took us a while because he had other projects that had to pay the bills. So of course we waited. We waited it out, and he did the rest of the issue slowly because of his schedule, of course.
Yeah.
And so when we took it to them, it had been years that we were working together, and he's great. We work together wonderfully. And I keep saying Aftershock's great and he's great, but I can't tell you like how smooth this whole process has been. I've worked on books that are bumpy. I'm working on books that are bumpy. It's part of comics, and it's acceptable, and there's no problem with that. This was just like a breeze.
Has that been refreshing to you a little bit, James? Like, you say, you've been in the industry for 15 years. Has it been refreshing to have kind of an easy process of producing a book right now?
Yeah, Kaiju was it took, like I said, it took a while, and we just did it when we could, but it was refreshing because you never know when you start a project. Something's not going to turn out right. It's not going to work here. It's not going to work there. And sometimes it's not the artist. Sometimes it's me. It's me, or there's, it's being in a collaboration, and any number of things can go right. Any number of things can go wrong. And this was at the top of things going right. Just like, going down a water slide.
So I have to ask you, and Aftershock has been letting their creators do these, and as I get to the back of the book, it's awesome. You get to put that little extra matter in the back of the book. I'm not going to spoil anything, but they're kind of like the warnings, and it almost looks like a hurricane guide, but for the kaiju. Talk to me about doing that. Was that an easy? I'm guessing, was that your idea? Was that Rem's idea? Who took that to Aftershock, and what was the process of getting that done?
Aftershock had basically just said they wanted to do back matter. I think they do back matter for all their books.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked me if I had any ideas. And I knew that one of the things that worked for the book was the weather, the kind of parallel with weather alerts and stuff like that. So I said, I wonder how this would go. And I went and I just looked up some hurricane stuff. And I was like, oh, this is cool. We could put something like this in the back of the book. And then I think I sidestepped on it, and I wanted to do something that fit into the narrative more, maybe like Marco's notes on setting up the heist or something like that. But in the end, I think Aftershock had said, this kind of works a little better. And they were right, because when you're done with the book, it acts a little breezier. And if I had tried to, I overthink it, and I would have overthought it, and I would have tried to make everything perfect with Marco's notes and try to put it. I'd have tried to Alan Moore it, but it really didn't need that. So
well, and what I love is, you still did a few different things, because you did the warnings and the watches, so it's kind of like your hurricane guide.
Yeah.
But then you also did something that's like almost along the lines of the PTSD that somebody might have if they went through a kaiju encounter, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
It's something that probably some readers would say, "Dang, I really wish he would touch on that in the book." But in 4 issues, you might not have time to do that. But you put that in this back matter, and I think that's awesome. That adds to the world.
Right. Yeah, it turned out great. It really did.
You mentioned Marco. Talk to me a little bit about your main character without giving anything away. But it is a crime book, so talk to us a little bit about him and where your inspirations for Marco came from.
The theme of the book is desperation, and if you look at the characters without giving too much away, they're all desperate. They all need this. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it, because it's insane. And that kind of pulls everything together thematically. And Marco is desperate. He's desperate because he can't seem to get a score right. He can't. I don't want to give it too much about his character, because it unfolds. What his strengths are, what his weaknesses are. But in the first issue, it lays out what's this guy's strengths, what's this guy's weaknesses. Why is he failing? If his strength is this, why is he failing over here all the time? So he's a guy that wants a win. And he's been trying to get this big win his whole life, and he can't seem to get it. And that's the best way to set the table for Marco.
He kind of, I feel like without, obviously everybody isn't, planning heists and doing scores, but I feel like you put a little bit of everybody into Marco. We all like to think we try our best, but sometimes we still fail despite that.
Right.
And I
Right.
feel, you humanized him very well. Yeah. If I
Yeah. If I was to, no, there's a page in there that kind of sums it up towards the end of the book as to why he does it. It's very, I don't know if it's subtle or not. It kind of, and it ended up being my because it gets into his head. There's a page that he's talking about mullet fish for the second time.
Yeah.
And it kind of explained where he's coming from at the root. And that was, that usually as a writer, things like that end up being your favorite pages, is when you can find something like that. So yeah, he was a lot of fun to write. And, my process, he went through a lot of different stuff early on. Like I said, it was more like a Parker book early.
Mm-hmm.
So it went through a lot of, when I got there, that felt right.
So, talk to me a little bit about what's going to be the process for you, James. I'm guessing you're almost done with the 4 issues, just the way production works and everything. But then, will you? At what point will the movie deal start taking you away from comics and have you helping? How involved will you be with that? I know this is new to you as well, but how involved?
I've had one thing option before. I wasn't too involved with that, and I'm not terribly. I'm involved if they need me.
Okay.
So maybe at some point I'll start dipping. I dipped my foot over there for other projects. I've done some work with Hollywood people. Have a new book coming out in previews next month. It's like teamed up with Winkler Films, who did like Creed and stuff.
Oh, wow.
I'm in that world. But I do comics in that world. I'm not going to be over here producing a movie in the sense that like the real producers produce the movies, meaning that's not me yet. I haven't been in that world a lot. I'm going to make as many comics as I can. I really like medium. I really like the art form, the craft. I've been doing it a while. I've had success and I enjoy it. And hopefully, this allows me to make more comics more than anything. Now, if you can make comics and they're going to go out and they're going to pay you money for a movie deal for it, I highly recommend that. Because comics doesn't pay a ton sometimes. So, if they want to give you that money, take it.
Yes. No, absolutely. And I mean, heck, like I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, you got options so early in the process that I feel like it only helped the book because, we support Aftershock very heavily. And let's just say we might order 30 of any given Aftershock book, whether it's number 1 or whatever. Well, we doubled that with Kaiju Score because we're like, all right, it's optioned, it's an established right. I mean, there was a lot of factors. Let's be honest. There is a lot of factors.
Yeah.
But I do.
Well, no, you're 100%. My opinion on this is Aftershock. They have firstly, Aftershock has a great team that goes out and sells their books. So I'm not taking anything away from them. That movie deal, though, can give you some steam coming in, and it can get things rolling downhill really, really quickly.
Oh yeah.
And there is a lot. I'm seeing a lot of attention for this book online, and I would assume that's part of the equation, and that's a large part of the equation, and that is to take nothing away from the work that Aftershock does on the ground out there with comic shops or any of their advertising or anything like that. It helps, it all comes together, and then it all pushes everything forward, and it all hopefully works.
No, and also not to take anything away from what you did, because you created this story, and it wouldn't be optioned without you. But I really, with comics, I always tell people we're big supporters of independent here. That's why we have the show and we have the Collective Initiative, which is literally our self-published section of the store. But one of the hardest things for independent books and independent creators is to just get the book in front of people's eyes, because some stores may not even order it because it's not DC and Marvel. So we really think that it helped get it in people's eyes. We did the poll today, and we have a small store, so all the books are there, and we can't sell any until tomorrow. But the customers see the books, and most of our questions today, while there's tons of X of Swords books coming out tomorrow and all this stuff, a lot of the questions were about Kaiju Score, and that's because the internet, is chatting.
That's awesome, and I'm seeing it too. I'm seeing it online. I'm seeing the chatter and the buzz, and like I said, I've had some successes. But this is a little different. This might be a lot different when is all said and done, and I'm hoping so. Because again, the key here for me is, what does this lead to? I want Kaiju Store to do excellent. At the same time, I'm hoping it leads to more doors and I can get more of my stuff out there. And I'm hoping it does that for Rem. And Rem's worked on some great things, the artist. And we can all do better. We can all try to take this thing and try to ride whatever wave it gives us. And right now, go ahead. Sorry.
I was saying there's so many positives to be had with what can happen here, because it can give notoriety to both of you guys, can give notoriety to Aftershock, and potentially help the other creators that are on the Aftershock roster too.
Yeah, I super excited. I can't, I just, we're all super excited. And again, this was the stars aligned situation, from the movie deal, to like how we took it to them, how they picked it up. It was, they told us that they were like unanimous. The board that picks up that. And again, we had a full issue, so there were a lot of things here that were it just all lined up correctly. Yeah. Having that first issue, I think it helped our movie deal, because not only did they see the first 5 pages, I really feel like they got a sense of the story, and the execution, and not just the hook.
Yes.
That's the best way to put it. Is when I say it's a Quentin Tarantino movie in the corner of a Godzilla movie, people are gonna be like, "Oh yeah, right, okay, whatever."
That's easy to say, but you have to make it be right.
Right. So, and I think in the book we executed it hopefully, and the studio felt that, and so that all helped us, and it just everything aligned correctly for this.
So James, got a couple minutes left, and so I want to have you kind of people that are going to come into the store tomorrow, whether here at the Collective or whether around the United States, that are going to pick up Kaiju Score. What would you say to them before they pick up and read the book?
I would tell them that it's not just a hook book. At first, people were very excited because it's a cool hook. It's a heist during a giant monster attack. But what we're seeing online now, the reviews and how people are really, our goal was to make the book slick and different than anything else on the market, and people seem to be responding to that. They're talking about how fun it is, how different it is, how slick it is, and so I would say you're going to get something a little different with this. It's not a doom and gloom book. It's if you like swearing, there's a lot of swearing. So I'll warn people there.
That's awesome. We're super looking forward to it. Like I said, we doubled our order of typical Aftershock. And granted, Aftershock, we're supporting a lot of great publishers. Aftershock being one of them. Stephanie Phillips, she's from New York, but she's from Tampa, so we like to adopt her as our daughter here. And her book Red Atlantis had just come out, so we really love everything Aftershock. But the book is Kaiju Score. Issue number 1 hits shelves tomorrow. We do have a couple of 1 in 15 variants left. And I want to thank James Patrick. James, let them know where they can find you wherever you are on social media.
I'm on Facebook, and you can friend me on Facebook. James Patrick, comic writer. I'm on Twitter. You look for me on Twitter. It's James Patrick. I think it's with a K instead of a CK because I signed up early and I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm out there. You can find me. Some of my other stuff is like I wrote a book called Death Comes to Dillinger. So if you do like a search for Death Comes to Dillinger or just James Patrick comic writer, you'll find me. I'm out there. So
awesome. Thank you so much, James, and best of luck with the book. We're looking forward to seeing what you give us over these 4 issues, and look forward to seeing what Sony can give us with the movie. So best of luck, man.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll keep in touch, man. You have a good one.
Okay, bye.
So that was James Patrick. Again, the book is Kaiju Score. We have plenty of copies of number 1. And going from Aftershock to another publisher, well, I'm going to actually let Kevin tell you the whole story because I don't even know the whole story. But it is a Scout Comics Nonstop imprint. Tart I'm going to bring in Kevin Joseph. How are you doing today, Kevin?
I'm doing fabulous. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us, man. The Gibbster, Travis Gibbs, hooked us up. I have a lot of questions, Kevin. A lot of questions.
I have a few answers and many lies.
Most of them don't even start. I've read the book, but
Okay.
I have so many questions before I even get there.
Let's do it.
So, Tart, originally self-published, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So, originally self-published. I looked at a copyright date that you had somewhere in here, and I want to say it was 2010.
We've been working on this a while. The original script was sent in 2010, and Ludovic is the artist that I co-created it with, Ludo Soleil, and we had a couple starts and stops, and thankfully, the people who read it have stuck with us and told us to keep going. And every once in a while in a marathon, you get a cramp, right? And you just need somebody there with an orange peel to say you can keep going. And we get our vitamin C and we get back to it. We now believe we are on a rhythm where we are not going to have those cramps anymore.
So you started in 2010. When did you finally get? I found a Kickstarter for, I want to say it was like about 2017 for Tart. But when did you actually get? When was the first time you were able to get an issue 1 printed?
For with Scout Comics or for our
period for Tart? When were you able to get one printed?
We were going out to San Diego Comic-Con with the guys at Creature Entertainment. I'm guessing you've run across them, and they do Tommy and a bunch of other stuff. We were heading out with them in 2015, San Diego Comic-Con. And up until that point, we had never done the first issue of Tart on its own. We had a trade paperback with issues 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
And I wanted a way to invite people into this series, whether they wanted to give $4 to check it out for one issue or the $12 for the trade paperback. So we did a Kickstarter to print issue number 1, which we call our convention number 1, which is the copy you were holding up. Yes.
Which is super cool. It has the convention feel too.
Yeah, that was ours. And at that convention, we started talking more seriously with Scout Comics about whether or not there would be a home for Tart. And they were going through a bunch of shakeups, a bunch of different changes. So it was a good year and a half before that conversation went from maybe there's room and maybe you fit to, hey, would you like to jump on board? So it's, making indie comics is a long, arduous, but really fulfilling and fun process.
It's a roller coaster ride, right?
100%, 100% it is, because when you walk in a shop and you've got that Scout Comics number 1, like up there next to I've seen it next to a Joss Whedon Avengers. I've seen it next, and it's just like, wow, she's there. She's with them. So
I needed to know that origin story. That's why I hijacked the first 3 minutes to find out. I need to know the answers. But let's talk about the book. Tart Acid. Tell me about her. Tell me about Tart. I read that first issue, and I was just like, the first issue, without spoiling anything, feels very self-contained. And then at the end, you're like, whoa, this girl is much bigger than what I just witnessed. And, that's where you kind of let your lead on the rest of the book. But tell us about Tart.
Tart Acid wakes up at the beginning of each adventure without any idea where she is in the world or when she is in time. But she's fully aware that if she's there, a demon's causing trouble, and it's up to her to stop it.
And I'm guessing this is an Easter egg. I'm guessing this was like a personal, like you just dropped this in here. My favorite scene from the first issue is when she, after, this is towards the end, so I don't want to spoil anything, but she goes and the little boy gets a bunch of baseball cards and she picks out the best ones. And you clearly picked out some cards, like you got Roberto Clemente, and she keeps those because she knows they're valuable in our time. Just the nerd in me, the baseball collecting nerd in me has to know how you came about with that panel.
100%. If you went back in time, what would you grab? You would grab Amazing Fantasy number 14. You would grab Detective Comics 2020 or what's the Superman one? What's 27?
Action Comics 1, Detective Comics 27.
Yes, you would, if you were in those years, you would grab those, right? And you'd bring them back to your own time. I mean, and just find them in condition, wouldn't you? So yeah, we wanted to we hint that that's in the 50s. It's on the newspaper, but we wanted to peg it. This adventure's in the 1950s. So I actually went through a baseball card guide, tops for 54, 55, 56. When I saw Clementi's rookie was, I think it's 56 if I remember right, but that could be wrong. I was like, well, it's Clemente. That's who we're going to do, because I mean, you can't get a better player / person than Clemente.
Absolutely. I mean, they named the humanitarian award after him. He was one of the best. But yeah, when I flipped to that, I was just like, wow, that's awesome. That's an awesome little Easter egg, because some people might not get it. Some people would just keep reading, and she tells the kid not to let his mom throw him away, and which is also another thing. Having worked in a comic shop, I can't tell you how many times, oh, I went to college, or oh, I got I enlisted, and they're gone. And it's like, so that was a fun piece of advice. I can tell you had fun writing this, Kevin. Talk to me about the inspiration for writing this story.
I did, and the cool thing about this is really and truthfully a co-creation between myself and Ludo. He had a series of comics that he was working on with a character named Hell Strawberry, who is a time traveler. She fights demons, and she goes around and meets, mythological gods and creatures. And he wrote himself into a corner. A mutual friend introduced us, and I looked at it and I was like, man, you look at that art. As a writer, you've got to try to figure out how to work with this person. Mm-hmm. And so I said, I saw where he had painted himself in a corner, but I didn't see exactly where to help him get out of it. But I did wake up like a week later with the idea of a woman waking up in the middle of an alleyway and something happening. But she knows if she's there, she's got to solve it. And that was what got me into the story. And that first contained issue is self-contained, because that's my audition piece. I sent that script to Ludo to say, hey, if I were going to work in your world, this is how I would. Do you like that? And he was like, yeah, okay, I see where you're going, and let's do this. And let's do it with a whole new character. I'll keep Hell Strawberry over to the side, and this new character who I had jokingly named Tart, because all of his stuff has, like sour and sweet, evil and good. And he goes, that's fine. We'll just give her a weird name, a last name like Acid, and it'll be fine. So there wasn't much thought in her name, and but it's beautiful the way it worked.
Off the tongue. It's a good name, Tart Acid. Like, it's great. So talk to me a little bit about, like you said, this first issue is a little bit self-contained because it was like your audition. Mm-hmm. We had a chance to look through the Scout trade paperback, because it was part of Scout's Nonstop imprint. So the trade paperback has the first 7 issues. Did I read that correctly?
Absolutely, yes.
So one thing I kind of feel like I noticed was that the art, and maybe it would have just been the chemistry between you two, but I feel like the art improved as it went along, whether it was him just getting a better feel for you, because he'd been working for a while prior to that. But mm-hmm. Have you noticed that people told you that the book just gets cleaner and looks better as it goes along?
Well, we both learned how to make comics quite a bit from 2010 until now. I'm not going to yet say either of us are good, but we know more now than we did. And so he did. What I'll say about Ludo is I've always loved every page he sent to me, but he finds a way to change his style. In that first 7 issues, he illustrated 6 of them. Well, he painted 1 and illustrated 5. And Carl Moline came in and did a guest issue for us. Issue 6, there's going to be a change because it's different artists. Okay. But Ludo changes the style based on when and where and the tone of every story. We're working actually on issue 13 right now. And we finished issue 11, and I had a friend read it, and he asked me who the second artist was on issue 11, because Ludo changed his style between 2 locations so drastically. that the person reading it thought it was a different artist.
I think Steven literally, when he was flipping through it, granted, we did notice when Carl came on too, but he was like, I think there's a third artist on here too. So now that, it was just those two guys. Mm-hmm. So that's awesome. And I noticed that. That's why I kind of asked, like, I guess there's a progression there, whether it was, better is a judgment call, but there was clearly a progression as he goes throughout, and same thing with the writing. Yeah. Talk to me. So when you got to Scout, mm-hmm. is the only thing that you guys, nothing in the interiors changed. Is that correct? You guys just commissioned a new cover and that was it?
Yes. Issue one for Scout is the same 24-page story that is in the collection. In the convention, actually the convention is slightly different. I wanted to show that Ludo painted issue 2. So we did sneak in about the first 3 pages.
I was going to say
issue 2.
Because you, at the end of the Scout one, in true Tart fashion, you leave her in what is the equivalent of the alley of her next location.
Yeah, that's our true cliffhanger. But I did, since I was going to be, selling this at conventions to people who've never ever heard of us, may never see us again, I really wanted to hook them with extra art.
So how did it do on the convention circuit? What was the reception when you were out there? I know this feels like ages ago now, but
it's 2020. So what is time? It feels like last week was 4 years ago, and 4 years ago was yesterday. So I'm not really sure. It does well. I'm not going to say that I'm the world's greatest convention salesperson. I do certainly look, if you're wearing a brown coat jacket, I'm certainly going to try to, bring you over. If you're wearing something Doctor Who, one of my favorite things I do with the first trade paperback is if somebody is dressed as a TARDIS, I try to get a tart with a TARDIS photograph, which is my way to sneakily bring you over to the table. But even if you don't buy it, we get a great picture out of it.
Yeah.
I think it does well. I always do better the second and third year I'm at a con, because the people who tried us the year before come back and usually get more of the issues. So that's my favorite. I like introducing the book to people. That's great. I prefer talking to people who've already read it because that's fun.
So, is this book a little, would you say it's fair to say it's a little, I know Doctor Who is the natural, progression, a little quantum leapy too?
Absolutely. The most accurate way I've heard it described is a supernatural quantum leap.
Yes. Yeah. It actually feels like if Quantum Leap, if the guys from Supernatural, mm-hmm. the show, were able to do what Quantum Leap did, that boom.
Yeah. We use Buffy meets Doctor Who with a little Sandman rolled in for flavor. Yeah. I think the 2 biggest influences as a writer for me are Gaiman and Whedon. So those are, I'm not saying I'm there, and I'm, but it's kind of like that. Where can you find that story that feels surprising but true at the same time? And where can you mess with the audience's expectations in a way that they thank you for it, as opposed to you're just pulling the rug out from under people. Our goal is to do something surprising that you are happy to have seen.
And as you mentioned, you're already working on issue 13. Is that what you said?
Yes.
So we've got 7 in a trade paperback at Scout, which first of all, Kevin was nice enough to send us some of these here. So we have some of these here at the collective. We will be ordering some of the Scout trade, which is going to be issues 1 through 7. What is Scout going to be printing volume 2 that will be issue 8 through, is that the plan moving forward?
The plan moving forward is that we are part of Scout, and our books are going to go through them. Our Nonstop in 2020, we came out in February, and everybody knows what happened to Diamond and comic shops in March and April and May. And the trade paperback came out in June. So I'm going to say this point blank, compared to the way other people have really suffered in the pandemic, that's nothing. that is like, I don't want anyone to think, oh, boo-hoo, because that is such a small thing on the scale of what could have happened. So I big time, I want that known. But it did kind of mess up the quote unquote energy that we were trying to build with getting issue 1 out and getting the trade paperback out and that next previews to build it. So the next quote unquote 5 issues we've done are going to come out in stores in 2021. Scout hasn't announced it, so I feel like I'm not allowed to explain exactly how.
Okay.
But in 2021, those 5 issues that we've done will come out, and there will be a collection of what we call Tart Season 2, which would be our 8 through 12.
Okay.
Ludo and I's job is to make sure that when that's out, 13, 14, 15, and 16 are done. We don't want any shops to be waiting on the next trade season, which will come out probably every year and be between 4 to 6 issues, depending on the arc.
That's awesome. I have to ask. I have to, because I always I feel like the literary people know. So your dedication in your convention exclusive is to Joanne Gomez.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about Joanne. Why did that dedication go out? Tell me a little bit.
Joanne was one of our original Kickstarter backers. She backed the trade paperback for issues 1, 2, and 3. And we did that Kickstarter because we were going up to New York Comic Con and had just left, there were hurdles to all this. And the reason why it took so long, we had tried to do it with another small company that kind of imploded. And so we were like, we're going to New York Comic Con. I can't do it with print on demand books that cost me $8 to print and I can sell for $12. So we decided to try a Kickstarter, and it went, and we were very happy. And she picked hers up. Just the nicest, funniest, coolest person. She worked in helping people get out of addictions. She worked in an addiction thing. And I would turn to her when I had a story idea about, is what I'm talking about plausible? Is it complete horse patookie, I'll say, because I don't know if we can curse on this. I know that the last book has a lot of cursing, and that's fine. I'm all for the cursing in the Kaiju book, but I'll keep it clean in case. But she was great, and we met her two years in a row there, just lovely. And the third New York Comic Con, she was supposed to pick up her book, and she never showed up. And it happens, but I sent it to the address that I had, and about 6 months later, I got a letter from her mother. And Joanne had passed away from a blood clot that she had knee surgery, and the blood clot went into her heart or lungs. We lost her. And it is so amazing what the Kickstarter community really means to an indie creator, because without them, 90% of these books that start indie and come into shops would die on the vine. And so my appreciation for her is more for everyone who's been behind us, as well as her just being wonderful. And when we were doing this book, we just thought, well, I mean, hopefully she sees it, and hopefully I don't know how it works, but I hope that she sees that we dedicated it to her.
No, and that's amazing. I knew there had to be a story, because as you know, under it, you don't just have her name, but it says your spirit touched us, your memory inspires us. When you say memory, a lot of times that is the way. So I knew there was a story there, and I had to ask, because you're right. The indie, not just Kickstarter community, but the indie comics community as a whole is so big on its fan base. If you don't have a fan base, who can you sell your book to? You're not DC Marvel.
Right.
And especially with the Kickstarter people, because like you said, they help your book become a reality, whether it's financial or whether it's even just social media posts. So I thought that was amazing. I had to ask Kevin. So
I appreciate it, because really, honestly, I mean, I've had about 3 in-person conversations with her and a social media relationship, but it's nice to be reminded because she was just such she was a special person that I would have liked to have known more.
Well, and the good thing about, I know technology, a lot of people say technology is kind of bad because, people are at dinner and everybody's looking at their phones. But the good thing of technology, I do feel like, and this comes from me both as a sports fan and as a comic fan, social media has changed the game in how people who appreciate any type of art can now reach out to the person that created that. And not, Brad Pitt is not as accessible as, some Scott Snyder or something like that.
Right.
The fact that I see guys like Donny Cates literally talking to his fans and things like that, the game has changed. And I feel like it only helps independent creators because you guys can reach people on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. Is that kind of how it is? It's all hands on deck throughout social media for you guys?
I definitely believe so, because I mean, we have no advertising budget. It's like our advertising budget is a $5 boost here or there. Maybe if I was better at ads, maybe we'd put $50 into it.
Maybe put like 20, right?
Yeah. We'd big spender. But so it more is just like, hey, here's who I am. And like my Twitter feed is 1/3 sports, 1/3 government stuff, and 1/3 comics. And like that's what interests me, and I'm all for it. And I retweet what I like, and so far people either love me or hate me, but it's who I am, and I'd rather just be honest. And you build that relationship with people. I used to say that Ludovic was the best friend I'd never met, but now that we've gone to New York Comic Con and met, I can't say that anymore. So.
Well, and it's not just the fans; it's the creator community too. Because I mean, literally, another creator like Travis Gibb introduced us, and Travis has introduced me to tons of guys. So it's nice that while there is competitiveness. I mean, who doesn't want to sell out? Like they want their book to sell out. But it's nice that people are willing to say, hey, you liked my book? You should check out so-and-so's book. And that helps leaps and bounds, I feel like. Plus, it helps me know that's a nice person. If they're willing to suggest somebody else's book instead of just trying to talk about their book, I'm all in. No,
the especially in Florida with as many people working to do it, it's great to have like I said, we've got Creature down here, we've got Mad Cave down here, we've got Scout down here, Martin Piero and his crew, a bunch of great creators, and Travis's work and Ra. I mean, I could go on and on. There's just a lot of great people, and I try to find the people who believe that a rising tide raises all ships, because it does. I cannot compete with you said, a Hulk versus Thing one shot. I can't compete against it because my money is going to that too, because I want to see the Hulk and throw each other through some buildings. I'm good with that. But if somebody reads, Cthulhu Invades Odds, which Travis is doing, and they love it, they're going to be more interested in a supernatural comic like Tart than they were if they hadn't read it. I'm all about the indie guys working together, and I would say 85% of the time that's the way it works. And when that other 15%, you just kind of go, okay, that's the way you work, and that's good. I'm gonna go over with my crowd.
Yep. Yeah, and it's been nice. We literally had a signing just the other day with Jonathan Hedrick, and Brian Silverbacks was here, and Travis Gibb came to visit, and Trey Walker, who actually also has a Nonstop book through Scout. He's the writer from Last Stop. He was here. Right. So we literally took this picture, and it's funny, like it looks like this family picture, and it's just a bunch of indie comic guys, and it's awesome, and they're all holding their books, and we're just happy to be a small part of that just allows you guys to live on our shelf.
That's not a small thing though. That's huge, because you have a lot of bills to pay, and the margins on a comic book are not extremely large. So every of shelf space that you allow us to have is enormous, and I don't want you to play that down either, because that is a decision you make that you don't have to make, and like having us on to talk about it. this is your time you're giving too.
But the thing is, you know, it's a give and take. I like to say that everybody does try to gas us up. I think they just want us to keep ordering their books. But
no, that's not it. And in fact, if you order 400 units, I won't even say that again.
400, man. I'm doing $3.99. You're not getting a penny more.
Okay, and then I'll keep complimenting you.
but no. And granted, with our collective initiative, which I'm sure Travis maybe mentioned a little bit, part of it is tough because there's a ton of great indie books out there. But we do have a full shelf, and part of what I try to pride myself in is everybody gets front-facing access on the collective initiative. So I won't bring a new book on until we've sold out of something, because it's only fair to you guys. You know, I know some comic shops will kind of, you know, overlap books, and it's like, but then you can't get the full cover art, and you guys work way too hard, you know, for that not to be. So it's not a perfect situation. When we get to our new store, hopefully the collective initiative will grow to 2 shelves. Okay. But, you know, we're trying, and it's always awesome when we have great creators like you, Kevin, who come not just with great books, but they're great people too.
Well, I'll keep trying to fool people into thinking I'm a great person, and as long as I keep fooling you guys, I'll consider it a success. And
you are friends with Travis Gibb, and Travis Gibb is a pretty terrible person, so I get like
we're both Floridians, we're both Florida men, so you know, and I have 2 first names, so you do so much.
Is Joseph his middle name? Like, what's happening here?
Really and truthfully, that's the way I grew up. It is what it is. It's best for you. Don't trust but verify. That's what I'll say.
Yeah. I was like, Kevin Joseph, is that really the name? I'm like, maybe. Okay, I had to look up on the Scout website and be like, all right, that is his name. But Kevin, so again, the book is Tart. We have them. We'll have a few actually different copies here at the collective. But again, tell people a little bit about Tart. Anybody that may pick it up, let them know what they're getting into.
Yeah, I call it a hard PG-13 soft R. It's definitely not adults only or mature audiences. I remember kind of struggling with whether or not we should put something up, and I bought Saga, I think 4, was that the Sex Planet Saga? Mm-hmm. And they didn't have mature readers on the cover, and I decided we were fine. I was like, okay, we don't have to worry about that. But I do say that, you know, your 10 or 11-year-old kids, they can wait to read it, but your high school age or above, we're not going to do anything that they haven't seen on HBO.
Well, and you know, anybody who's watched this movie, I'm going to make a quick comparison, and I don't know if you've seen the movie. The movie Shazam that came out through DC, unrelated to this really, but there's the movie is meant to be watched by kids, parents with their kids. It is a kids movie at its core, but there is one scene in there where the 7 deadly sins go real crazy, and I feel like that's kind of where you exist. The reading material is not something that a kid wouldn't be able to necessarily pick up. But there are some drawing, like, you know, the first issue takes place in kind of an underworld. And, you know, I could see kids maybe being scared of the art. But the subject matter isn't something that I don't think they could, you know, a 10, 12-year-old that is a little advanced, they'd be fine, I think.
Yeah. I remember 3 young ladies probably in that 15-year-old age range coming up, and me kind of saying to the mom, we've got a couple things in here. Should they? And she just said, they're on Tumblr. And well, that's fine.
It's true. But what I love about it too is Tart's a badass woman. You know, she's the main character. She don't need no help from nobody. Even in this first issue, she's straight up, you know, she you know where her place is in the food chain, and it's up there. It's up there.
If you like that Whedon Gaiman, I like to think that if someone's walking in your shop up with a Fables, a Y the Last Man, a Saga, a Sandman, a Lock and Key, and I don't say this to say, hey, we're on that level, because I just named, you know, the pinnacles of great books, and I don't, you know, Ludo's art might be, but the writing isn't quite there. But that type of a reader, I think, is the type of reader who's going to enjoy our series.
Yeah, and while it's not necessarily vampires, I think the Buffy crowd will like it for sure. I really do.
It might be coming in a future edition. Let's put it that way.
No, I could totally see that. So the book is Tart. We're going to have some here at the collective. Thank you so much, Kevin. He's Kevin Joseph. Before I let you go, I have a special guest here who's on to talk about his Kickstarter. I feel like you can stick around. I think he likes you enough.
I think I might be able to stick around for Travis. What's up, buddy?
Who are you people? What is going on? How are you? We talking about
car. Do you live in this house? Is this something you own?
Yeah, I know. Like, this is the first time I've actually showed like I have a bigger than a room. Like, I get it. Yeah. My wife and kids are playing. I didn't want to set up, so I'm just in the dining room, just set up real quick because I knew I wouldn't be long. But so let me get this straight. I was doing stuff because I got 5 hours left of my Kickstarter, but Tart is now at the collective.
I mean, why? What? Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
We got this, which you can't even get from Scout. That's like exclusive,
right.
That's real deal. And then we're gonna have some Scout print, some Scout copies. Plus, we'll have the trade paperback. Kevin seems like an all right guy. I like him better than this Travis Gibb fella.
Well, just move my broke down because they're not going to sell anymore because Tart's there just killing it over and over again with the sales records. I mean, I don't got any pretty ladies on my cover. Like, what am I going to do?
That's a really pretty cover. I'm not going to lie.
Is that signed?
Look at that. And he didn't smudge it when he signed it, Travis. Take some notes.
I asked Kevin Joseph to sign one of my books once. He said, maybe when you're older, kid, and then just sent me on my way.
So, Travis, I love that you came on here and you hyped up Tart. But that's not what you're here for, Travis.
Yeah.
That's not
but that is what I should be here for because Tart is dope.
Tart is dope. Tart is dope. And I literally spent 25 minutes telling people about how dope Tart is. But you're on a time crunch, man. Well, actually, no. I want my glow-in-the-dark cover. I'm on a time crunch. Tell people how to make it happen.
No. Back up a minute. So you're on your first reading of Tart, right?
Yes, first reading.
No, you need to read it again.
Oh.
Kevin Joseph has hidden gems. I have to read every time I've read it. I've read them several times now. There's always something that I didn't get, especially when you get multiple issues. So I know you're trying to move me along, but you need to simmer down and read it again because that's what's good about it. When you buy my book, it's very basic. You're just going to kill guns and violence.
Read it once, throw it back.
Right. Just put it back on the shelf. Maybe buy the trade. Read it one more time.
Now, Travis, we already said a rising tide raises all boats. They can read both books, and I'll be ecstatic.
But that's not the book I've got. Cthulhu Invades Oz, we have the last 4 hours of it. Last 4 hours. We just hit the last 4 hours mark. We are almost at $24,000, which is not to brag, but that is a big number that I'm scared of. I don't even know what to do with that number. Kevin Joseph's been in similar situations. Like, what do you do when that money comes in your account? You get confused. You're like, that's higher than my savings. Like, I don't understand.
That does have to be scary. You're going to have like Brian Silverbacks busting down your door. Like, hey, I see that 24,000.
You know what makes the fear go away is you immediately send a check to the printer for a large portion of that 24,000.
Right.
And then the number is not as intimidating, and you just realize, thank God those people came out and backed me because there's not much left.
Right. And then you go, oh, I have to ship international. Well, there you go. Maybe I'll throw some at a con. Damn it, there's no cons.
well, I will give everybody like a small behind the scenes. So we had to change over the collective pledge from my credit card to the store credit card because I ain't got stacks like that. And Brendan sees the number of the pledge. He's like, "Oh, okay. Tell Travis not to mess this up."
Well, you'd be safe to assure that I did not mess this up because I've got writers who are more talented than myself. In fact, I asked Kevin Joseph. He's just like, I don't really know anything about Cthulhu. So
I didn't know anything about Cthulhu either. And look, I'm here.
I feel like I'm the only indie creator that came up on the Poe tree. I didn't come up on the Lovecraft tree, so I'm out of all this Cthulhu. But man, if it was Telltale Heart, I would be all about it.
I finally got a page to color.
He gets the color finally. I didn't think it was ever going to happen.
Me either.
It's cool. Once it's colored, we'll show people.
Yeah, I don't know about his coloring skills, Kevin, but I mean, look at the way he dyes his hair. I mean, he's got to have at least a little stuff.
It's 2 colors, so
I
he
took
cannot
a
use.
color theory class in school. I mean,
I think it looks dope.
He didn't use it on the hair.
Why isn't the mustache a third color?
you know what? The
Thank
next
you,
time
Kevin.
it probably
Thank
will
you.
be.
All right. All right.
I'm gonna do it just for you.
And then eyebrows, different color.
No, the eyebrows are sacred.
Travis, what?
Yes.
How far are we from glow in the dark cover, dude?
We are $1,007, which is not undoable. It's very, very
I'll take
doable.
care of the 7.
Make that pledge with your credit card.
Yeah, I
You
guess I have to make that with my credit card now.
Yeah, Kevin's already committed to the 7, so you're just.
Someone has to get the 1,000.
And you know what? Even if we're 7 under, I could just tell Kevin after. He's good for it.
He's
Absolutely.
good. He's good. No, but we're excited for Cthulhu Invades Oz. I mean, we did it on the retail level, plus I did a personal copy. So, like, yeah, we have the link there. Also, I think it's CthulhuInvades.com will take you right to it, right, Travis?
Correct. Well, and one of the things to note, even if you're thinking about buying the store, they're going to have a different cover than what you'll get on the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter has all sorts of other cool things added to it. So you may want that cover as well, to get that signed by your crew. Maybe have one to read, one to collect, because there's all sorts. We've got hardcover.
Three different covers, is that correct? Because there's the 2 soft covers.
You are, but you're limited numbers. You only have like 4 of the. You'll have 2. You're not going to have as many to sell. Those will sell really fast, and probably to employees. I'm going to be honest, and not to say that you're stuff, but like they'll pay full price, but like they're friends with all of us. So
yeah. I mean, well, yeah, because I think it comes with 4 hardcovers. Thankfully, because I wanted my creator special one, I did my own hardcover, so that'll be 1 extra hardcover for the store. But
I'm probably gonna buy a hardcover. So no hardcover will hit the shelves here at the Collective.
So get your hardcover for the $69 pledge, or no, $59 pledge.
$59 pledge.
$59 pledge. Get a hardcover. You've got some awesome art on those. Who are your 3 cover artists on for Cthulhu?
So we've got Kyle Willis. He did the hardcover. He did the beautiful, beautiful hardcover that's hand painted. For the other ones, Dirk Gorb, who does Final Growth, which is really good. He did the retail cover, which I love. It's one of my favorite covers. And then for the other one, his name is Etney. I can't pronounce his last name because it's French, but he's from Canada and he's fantastic. Dude, I keep trying to hire that guy. He will not hire me. Apparently, he wants to write his own comic with his own.
Pronounce the guy's name? Like, you guys have at least one Canadian that can pronounce the names right?
Yeah, well, that's why we need Chuck here. Chuck's not here to tell us what the name is.
Oh man!
If you ask me tonight on the live from 10 to 11:30, like we can tell you the name because Chuck can pronounce it for you.
Well, yeah. So what's the final? What's your close time? Because you're the project manager. I'm sure you know this.
11:30.
11:30. So, and you guys will be live from 10:30 to 11:30 doing that final push.
Correct. We'll be doing the final push, trying to get that last little bit to try to get to where we need to go. Like I said, it's $1,000 left. Very, very achievable. We just unlocked. We ran out of signed copies, so we just unlocked those, so more people can buy those. So yeah, we are cutting down to the wire. I want to get to 600 backers, even if I don't get the thing. I want 600 backers, really bad.
Are you doing any giveaway? Like, what is there any special things that you've been doing throughout the thing? Is there any giveaways for backers? Did you have
a digital reward that you'll get with all sorts of books. In fact, I was just about to add 2 more. So at $550 and $575, 600 backers, you'll get a digital comic. So assuming we get to 600, that's going to be 17 digital comic books for free.
Did you announce what the comics were going to be for $550 and $575 since you hit that already?
Hot shot, and then I'm figuring out one right now. I have a list of ones that I can add.
I got a question. Are you at your own baby shower? Are you pregnant?
My sister-in-law just had a baby.
Oh.
And
aka Travis.
We identify genders here, so they remind me who I am. I just
when I put you on the big screen, I'm like, Travis is a boy. Yes, that is correct. It is a boy.
No, so at our house,
he's a good boy too. He's a very good boy.
at my house, my wife always has the next party. So thank you tomorrow. We'll be all things. I mean, we've already got the pumpkins out.
I was gonna say, so if one of us just finds out we're having a boy soon, we just go down to the Gibb house and we're ready for a baby shower.
We got you. We got you.
Well, thanks so much, Travis. Again, so Kevin Joseph is the guy above me. Tart is the book. We have it here at the Collective. Travis Gibb is the man, the Gibbster with the great hair, you know, and he's closing out his Kickstarter. So if you can, go ahead, support Cthulhu Invades Oz. Lots of great creators. I have a one-page story in there, but you're probably just going to pass over it.
Absolutely not. That's
sure
the first one, buddy. I want to see your. Is this your writing debut?
It's my writing debut. The only thing I've ever been published in prior to this was a article that I wrote for the New York Daily News once in 2014, and I don't even think I have a copy of that.
But that's beautiful. I'm gonna give you an exclusive for your people. I think it's the Tick number 6. If you have copies of the Tick number 6. My first published thing in my life was when I was 11. I wrote a letter to New England Comics, and it's in the Tick. It's either the Tick 5 or 6 about the Tick number 4. I will sign the letter part of the column for anyone who brings me that issue. Now, I won't sign the cover, but I'll sign right there.
Oh, Steven's over here talking about when he was first published.
When I was 9, my grandfather, he used to collect Lionel trains. And I drew and colored. So, double credit here.
Colored.
I drew and
colored
the back page there. So,
hey, we're talking about writing, Steven. Nobody cares about you. but
hey, we gotta make your words look good. Okay?
Trains are hard to draw, man. Trains are hard to draw. Don't take that away from him.
Trains are hard.
His 10-year-old self agrees. They are hard to draw. But thanks, guys, for joining us. Again, Tart, you can grab it here in store. Technically, it's not a new book, so I can sell it to somebody today. They can walk in here and be like, "Yo, I saw Kevin Joseph, and I want Tart," and I'll sell it to you right now. Now, what I can't sell you right now is Cthulhu Invades Oz, because you got to go to Kickstarter to do that.
Well, and Tart's on Kickstarter too for 3 more days with a couple of things. If you want to get the first couple of issues there, you can catch up. Get yourself up to issue 11.
Boom.
Yeah. So here's my deal. Danny's so nice to bring me on. I wasn't bringing that up because I want you to buy your books from him. But if you do want to go check out the Kickstarter, I'd be happy for you to see it. But get your first trade paperback from Danny. I'll worry about getting you 8 through 12 on my own.
Yeah, we wanted
they're slightly different though, aren't they? The Scout versions and the stuff. There's slight differences.
There's cover differences, but the story is basically the same. Yeah.
So like can I move myself over here so I can be fancy?
Apparently you can.
Yeah, there we go. So I will say, and I heard, Kevin's and I'm not even being sarcastic, really awesome story about Joanne. So I do say, if you get a chance to grab the convention exclusive, grab it just for the fact that Kevin was amazing enough to literally dedicate the book to one of his, late Kickstarter supporters, which is huge. It's huge. We talked about it for 5-10 minutes already before, but that's huge. So please support both of these great, amazing young men in their striving to be great comic writers, which they already are. But thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Travis. I will actually probably see Travis later tonight having fun with the Cthulhu guys and gals.
Thank you, everybody. It's nice to meet you, and anybody that I meet through this, I'll talk to you later.
No, Steven, you're not invited. Thanks, Kevin. Have a good one. And thanks, Travis. We'll see you and Stoney Williams later, who just
yes, I'm having a boy. That's what we've named Cthulhu. The book is named Bob. And it's due date is today. We're super excited. We'll celebrate it from 10 to 11:30. Celebrate Bob's first day.
Travis had a baby. It's a boy. And remember that's the commercial now.
Right.
All right, Travis. We will catch you later tonight. We'll probably end up posting it to our fans so that they can see it. But you take it easy and best of luck with that final $1,007.
All right. Bye bye.
Take it easy. So thank you everybody for joining us. We went a little bit extra because we had so much Kickstarter and independent awesomeness. I want to thank James Patrick from the very beginning, Kaiju Score. This is going to be huge, huge. It's already going to be in development for a movie. He's got 4-issue miniseries here. He's super enthusiastic about it. A lot of passion went into this. If you like Kaiju, if you like Ocean's 11, if you like Quentin Tarantino, you will like this. Collective first issue guarantee. And then Tart by Kevin Joseph. Thank you again to Kevin Joseph. This is the convention exclusive. Come grab one of these. Grab the Scout trade paperback. And thank you again for joining us. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for our Collective Happy Hour auction. And then Black Friday at the Collective. We'll have more for you guys tomorrow.